Blog Talk Radio.
Hey, this is Greg, founder of www.wrestling-divas.webs.com, your source for highlighting the most beautiful and deadly competitors in the professional wrestling industry. Thanks for everyone for tuning in to blogtalkradio.com. I'm very excited to be using Blog Talk Radio yet again to be conducting an exclusive interview with my next very special guest. She got her start in the entertainment industry by performing on the Women of Wrestling television show as one-third of the tag team Caged Heat. She has since moved on to bigger and better things as a stunts performer for such films as Dreamgirls, Precious, Grown Ups, Scary Movie 3, Taxi, and she most recently performed as a stunts coordinator in the film The Help. So I'd like to welcome my next special guest, Jwaundace Candece. And did I pronounce that name correctly? I've been practicing it all night.
You were close. It's actually Jwaundace Candece, but Jwaundace Candece is the closest that anyone's ever come. So I thank you for that.
Okay. I just practiced all night, so I wouldn't, screw up or anything. I should have finished hooked on phonics, but
No, you came really close, so that's really a great thing.
Well, let's get right to it. As said in the intro, you got your start on the Women of Wrestling television show, and I recently interviewed Jeannie Kim, who was also a part of that show, and she also was part of your tag team, Jimmy's Angels on Wrestlicious. And she said that about 1,100 girls auditioned for that show, and about 33 or 34 actually made it on television. So were you a part of that auditioning process?
Oh, yeah, it was I had just arrived in Los Angeles, and it was a big call, like you said, 1,100, and we all showed up, and luckily they went in alphabetical order because my patience is really low when seeing that many people, and I was one of the lucky ones.
So in that audition process, it was very tough, she said. There was a lot of training. There was a lot of cuts. So, what was your kind of motivation for auditioning for that show? I mean, were you a fan of wrestling growing up? Did you watch Glow, or what was the story behind that?
This is very interesting, Greg, because I wasn't a fan of wrestling at the time, but I was motivated by The Rock, who was quite entertaining to me, and also the Dudley Boys, who I enjoyed watching. And so, but I still wasn't a fan, only when they were performing, So also, I wanted to break into the business of acting, but I also had athletic background, so I felt like if I had an opportunity to do wrestling, that I would be able to do so. So that was my original goal for pursuing wrestling, and unfortunately, I fell in love with the sport and the entire wrestling industry.
So you were a part of a tag team called Caged Heat, and I remember seeing this on television even at a young age, along with Cher Ferreira, a.k.a., what was her name?
Loca,
yes, thank you. And you were Delta Lotta Pain. Did you enjoy your characters? Because I talked to Jeannie Kim, and she kind of was back and forth on the whole role that she was given. Everyone was given roles. Did you enjoy yours?
Yeah, well, actually, the funny thing is they wanted me to be a good guy, and I did refuse to be a good guy because I wanted to go full out, and no one thought I could be mean and crazy and wild and angry. So I showed up the next day in these cornrows and saggy pants, and they were like, okay. And my tag team partner did the same thing because we clicked immediately when we met. So we came the next day in these, thugged out looking clothes, and they were like, okay, you guys are Caged Heat. So I actually enjoyed being a part of Caged Heat because I enjoyed my partner and coming up with these new moves, and I enjoyed being a bad guy, a heel.
So was the training process to become a professional wrestler as difficult as you originally thought, or was it less? What was the story behind what you went through to prepare for the show?
Oh, that's a good question. Actually, it was more difficult and more demanding than than anything I've ever been through, but it prepared me for the stunt industry. We were in training at least 45 hours a day, and that include cardio, that include actually training with other professional wrestlers who were our trainees. It was very strenuous because I think that's when I gained the respect of the wrestling industry, because they're the most athletically inclined people that I've ever known, because you have to be in great shape to do those moves.
So your wrestling career actually led to a very, very diverse and accomplished career as a stunt double and coordinator. Could you please explain the story behind how that led to another outlet?
Okay, well, actually, I'm not a coordinator yet. It's just I'm a stunt actor and a stunt double, so those are two things. But, yes, I was approached during wrestling during the end of our season, and the final season, actually, to double Queen Latifah for Bringing Down the House. And I had no idea what stunts were, because I grew up thinking that they did their own stunts. I don't know what I was thinking, but it looked like they were doing their own stunts. And I was actually questioning, like, why can't she do them? Because she's like a tough girl, especially when I saw Set It Off. I'm thinking but a lot of the actors who say they're doing their own stunts are not doing their own stunts. And so she needed help with the fight scene in Bringing Down the House, so I actually doubled her in Bringing Down the House, which was my first feature. So I had a great time, and that led to many other movies and 40 other TV shows. So it was really wonderful.
A lot of people don't see as stunt performing as a role, but it is a role, because you're taking the place of an actor or actress, and you have to kind of assume the role physically. So how do you prepare for each role and diversify yourself to make it seem like you're the actor or actress really performing whatever scene that you want to do?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question also. Because I have acting experience, I was able to study the actor previous roles and how she walks on, especially if I'm doing a particular film, on how she walks. I pay attention to the actor I'm doubling on the set, how she walks, how she talks. You have to really pay attention to that mannerism. So when you become that person doing a particular stunt, you would do it the way that you think that they would do it. So it looks very natural. And I think because I've done it that way to a number of actors, that's why they call me back to do future stunts for them in future movies, because one thing they always said is that you make me look good. It looked like that was me. So I try to study that, and that's part of my theater background in doing that.
So and it depends on what film you're doing, but there is a lot of physical risk involved with stunt performing. So how do you make sure that the nerves don't get the best of you and that fear isn't a factor when performing stunts?
I've always been a daredevil growing up, so I try not to let the fear get to me. It's more of mind over matter, and most of the stunt people, we live and die for this, so we're not as fearful as most people think that we are. However, we are very cautious. As long as, we have a great coordinator and great people, the riggers that are working good with us, it eliminates a lot of that fear that we may have initially. And once we're confident with who we're working with and who we're working for, and everything seems safe, then that's when it goes away, and you just focus on your job at hand and do it. So, and a lot of us, like I said, are daredevils. We'll probably do it even if we weren't, on film and TV, a lot of the stuff we do.
So stunt actors and actresses do a lot to make a film work.
Right.
However, some would say that they don't get the proper credit that they deserve because, again, the focus is on the actor or actress that you portray. So does it at all bother you that you just get a small mention in a credit roll when you're done performing in these films, or do you enjoy what you do regardless?
You know what? It bothers me. I would say out of 1 to 10, maybe like 2 on a level 2, because I love what I do, so I enjoy what I do, and most of the actors actually give me a pat on the back and give me much praise. So I get it instantly on the set versus them saying in interviews and things of that sort. Now, Queen Latifah and Monique have said in interviews that their stunt girl is the bomb, and they mention my name, which is I'm very grateful when actors like that do acknowledge me. But it doesn't bother me as much because I do love my job. And like I said, I do a lot of stunt acting and a lot of action acting where I'm playing myself. So that makes up for it.
So you recently appeared in as a stunt actress in The Help, and that's critically acclaimed. And I'm looking at your Internet Movie Database profile now, and you have some upcoming projects. If you had the choice to be a part of any genre or working with any director, who would you work with and why?
I would love to work with Brett Ratner because he's an action guy. I love him. I would love to do some as a stunt acting for Antoine Fuqua. He's one of my favorite action directors also, and he does really great work. Spike Lee, I love a lot of things that he does. Steven Spielberg and Ron Howard, I love them also. Those are my top. And also I would love to work with female directors out there. One as such is the lady Catherine who did The Hurt Locker. She did a great job with that. I would love to work with her on that. So it's a lot of up-and-coming females who I would, and also the movie I'm coming up, Amy Mann. She's the director, her first actually feature big-budget movie coming up in October called The Texas Killing Fields. Amy Mann, who's the daughter of Michael Mann, I would love to work with her again. She was really wonderful to work with. So those are just some of the directors I look forward to.
So do you have a favorite scene that you perform stunts for film or movie? Because you have a really, really, really accomplished list of films and TV projects that you've done.
Oh, well, actually, there's a movie that's not on my IMDb yet called The Avengers that's coming out in May. And I actually have a pretty good scene in that where I play an action actor. I play a mom. I can't tell you the details, but I actually have a scene in that where I'm really proud of because that's actually the first biggest budget movie I've worked on, and it's going to be a huge movie when it comes out, and it's well written. So I look forward to that movie when it comes out. So that's my favorite so far. As myself.
So far we've talked about your wrestling career, we've talked about your stunts career. What's the biggest difference between the two, and can a wrestler become a stunts performer and vice versa?
The biggest difference is that wrestling, to me, is way harder because it's a live show and it doesn't give you time for safety per se when you're in the middle of doing something. You get what I mean? Like, because you're actually going through chairs and hitting and jumping off the rings, and there's no extra padding, there's no extra this going on like with filming TV. Don't get me wrong, filming TV is hard too, but wrestling's way harder. And yes, it is possible for wrestlers to go into the stunt world. There are, most of the time, wrestlers like being wrestlers. But like I said, I wanted to pursue an acting career, so I wanted to transition that to do my own action on screen.